Hey guys, so it's the 19th. Today's the big day, last day of classes after 6.5 years, almost to the day, since opening. It's crazy to think about. So many big changes are happening, but it's all for the best. I'm starting to realize, despite all the, what's the word, kind of the grind of working here, getting through the week, classes, all that. You know how it is. Eventually it just turns into a job, even if you're so blessed to have all this freedom and better income and so on and so forth. It can't be helped. Eventually it's like, man, I gotta go to work today, but despite all of that, I'm realizing I have a pretty deep emotional attachment to the place, and I've been doing this here long enough for quite a bit of my life to have passed, really. um, so when I opened I was 32, which is nuts to think about, because just a few years before that I was still in my 20s. Time is so weird to look back on. And now I'm 39, looking at 40, which is even crazier. I get so blown away by life sometimes, and that's why it's so important if you're gonna hang on a second here. Neighbor was coming to say hi. That's why it's so important to always, in my mind at least, to always be constantly working on something, trying to better yourself. Not even with that, not even bettering yourself, but just progressing in something. Even if it's just video games, get better at video games. Try to improve. You know, and naturally with business and life and developing skills, you should be moving forward. It shouldn't be this constant no progress type of situation where you just go through the motions and then there's another day, because time will pass, and it's just so savage how it does it. One day you're like, wow, I don't want to do that because it takes too much energy. I used to run around like a rabbit and just think nothing of it, but with time comes age, and with age you really have to kind of be more efficient with your life. I think you need to concentrate more. In my mind, it's really important to end up investing less of your time, but getting back more money. That's why I've gone into software development, among other things. But yeah, I mean, I look back on the early days when I first started, even before I put up my first video on this channel. I think I waited almost the better part of 4 months before I was like, I wonder if I can put something on YouTube, and then I did. And, kept a rough record of what was happening here. Although I could have done more. I could have interviewed students and maybe, I don't know, but it was like a 2020 hindsight. But yeah, the early days were definitely like the scariest, but also like the most fun, because it was like, wow, I'm actually doing it. I opened a school, and people are coming. They're coming, and they keep coming every month, and they pay me money, and I'm making money at my own business, and that's just great. That's exactly what I wanted. So that was a really special time looking back. But inevitably, I think we just have this crazy way of getting used to whatever's going on. I've seen interviews where guests will say they know people who are billionaires, like more money than you could ever realistically spend on yourself, at least, in a lifetime. But they're completely unhappy, like miserable. Not just like, oh, I don't, I'm not that happy. Like miserable, like serious depression and unable to socialize. Even though they have all this crazy amount of money. So. That's another reason why I think you need, in Japanese they call it ikigai, which it's kind of hard to translate. It's kind of a weird concept. I have an Aussie friend who's obsessed with it. He's doing like this ikigai marketing thing, and he's always talking about what it's not. But it translates as reason to live. Or you can say something like ikigai or kanjiru. I mean, you feel like you feel worth living, right? So you wake up in the morning and you've got this drive, right? Like you're excited to get out of bed. You've got energy to do it. You've got something you need to do, and you have the motivation to do it. Whatever it is, even if it's just making breakfast for your kids, or working on coding, or building out your website for your school, or maybe a new curriculum or something. You're engaged, and you're using, because when we're born, as human beings, we have so much ability. We can see in color, we can communicate with each other verbally, we can learn like a phenomenal amount of information over the years. And now in these days with computers and the internet and things like e-commerce and being able to get on a plane and go anywhere on the planet within 24 hours, um, we're really, really powerful. You know, we have so much we can do in this life, but if you don't have ikigai, that reason to live that's kind of motivating you to do something, it can be really hard, you know? Like, I feel for people. You get stuck in the humdrum and you get a little bit older and it gets like really easy to gain weight and it's easier to get tired, and the accumulation of just the fatigue and frustration can really blind you to what's out there, you know, and it sucks. Like I've seen a lot of people go through it, and hold on, hold on, this window popped up. Okay, it's still running. So that's why again, like just doing something, you know, like focusing on doing something, whatever it is, can make so much of a difference. Because once you get that ball rolling, that momentum starts to build, and you know, one day after another, you just keep doing something, and soon you have this achievement, you know, that's really something I wouldn't say to be proud of, but it's something to kind of enjoy the fact that you've done, and kind of feel a sense of contribution, I guess. And I really, really felt that when I first opened the school. And then I got so busy and then just completely bored with ESL. It's kind of just how it goes, you know. It's like you're playing one video game, you know, you're playing on your friends like Super Nintendo, and then someone comes over with a PS4 and you go back to the Nintendo, you're like, I don't know, that PS4 is pretty cool. That's kind of what happened to me when I hit software development. It's just like, whoa, this stuff is really interesting. I can't go back to ESL now. Dang it, you know. But I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, it's been a really good experience. It's very surreal now that it's ending, you know, because naturally you devote so much energy and time into establishing something. It feels a little surreal when it's time to move on from it. I really, really felt that when I left the U.S. That was just like, okay, wow, dude, you left your country. Like, that's crazy. Now here you are, you've got to learn this language and figure out how to live over here. Luckily, I was young enough. I still had the naivety, and there's a weird combination of naivety, energy, and lack of responsibility that makes it much easier to do things. You know, if I'd had 3 kids at that time, it may have been a bit of a different story. You know, I may not have been able to do a lot of what I've been able to do. So definitely timing is everything. That saying is very true. You definitely have to do things at the right time, and have situations come together at the right time, or it just won't happen. Anyways, I suppose I've jabbered enough, so I just kind of wanted to post some thoughts on what's going through my head now. I've got like little over 6 hours, and then that'll be it. I won't have any more students coming here to learn from me ever again, which is bittersweet, you know. But I think it's important. You need the highs and lows in life, you know. Without the bitterness, the sweetness of life would not be sweet. So I'm hoping this new job will bring a lot more sweetness into my life, and I'll be able to appreciate it. And I have some goals about getting into really good shape. I mean, I'm pretty healthy now, but I really want to go for it and get like in really good shape, and just start getting way more out of the day than I am now. And I think having a job that starts early and ends every time at a certain time is really going to help contribute to that. I'd like to live, you know, the rest of my years in a state of optimum health, and physically and mentally, and just focused on making things happen and improving things, and not kind of feeling like I'm stuck, or that life has to be hard, or dwelling on the past. You know, I really want to change things around here. Originally, I thought starting my school was going to do that for me, and it did initially. It was a massive positive change, but inevitably the responsibility accumulates, and it becomes more difficult to keep up with. And then if you're interested in other things and trying to devote your time and energy to that, it builds this kind of low-grade frustration about having to do the job, you know. So I suppose that's what happened in a nutshell, which is good. It's good when things change and your body and your mind start sending you signals about what needs to happen. That's good if you can listen to that. I think that's what really inspires innovation, and I think allows people to keep the ikigai. You know, if you start losing that, you start kind of not really feeling like life is that interesting or there's anything important or engaging for you to do. You can very easily become very self-destructive, even unconsciously. You know, if it's just like you just start spending all your money drinking or shopping, or you know, even things as mundane as just sitting there and gossiping all day with your coworkers, or overeating, getting fat, making excuses, destroying yourself mentally and physically, because you literally don't know what you want to do or how to do it. You're just kind of seeking these immediate rewards and kind of like ignoring what I kind of feel it's like this growing sense of fear about your life. Like, you know, you're a human being and you're subject to all the forces and the inevitable, the four sufferings they call them in Buddhism is birth, which we've all gone through, sickness, old age, and death. Like those are absolutely going to happen. They're unavoidable, those last three. And as our clocks tick on, you know, we inevitably approach those realities, and it's very easy to kind of want to hide from them, or, you know, use or distract ourselves with daily life. But it's much better, I think, to face it head on and be like, okay, you know, I've got to make use of this time I have now, right now, not tomorrow or next year, but right now. And I've been struggling with that because the school has become progressively more of kind of this elephant, and it's going to be hard though, and I know it's going to be really hard. I'm really glad we're doing this event on the 28th. I think I'll use that time to pass the keys on to the new teacher, and it's really important in life if you can have, excuse me, it's the coughing show, the time, or I should say the opportunity to make a clean, sincere thank you and goodbye. I found it brings an immense sense of closure. As human beings, I think maybe there's something like on a neurological, neurochemical level where it's like having that experience helps the closure, right? Like we feel it, like, okay, it's moving on, you know. And I had to do that with my father. About 3 years ago, he passed away quite suddenly, and I went back to the U.S. for 10 days. It was kind of a difficult situation, to say the least, but it was made more difficult by the fact that the doctors guaranteed us that, especially since he'd refused treatment, that he was absolutely not going to survive, and that it could be any day, or, you know, no more than 6 months, they said. So I'm like back there, I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? You know, like, hey, Dad, can you make a decision here? Like, let me know when you're gonna die. You know, so I got that time with him. We'd had our differences big time, actually, very recently before his diagnosis, and having that time with him, I found, just to say, like, don't worry about things. You know, this is something everybody goes through, and then I just told him, I'll see you again. You know, I couldn't really say goodbye and walk out of the room, but I said goodbye for now, I think. And that really helps. And then it was only a couple weeks later, he passed away, and he was gone, you know. And if I hadn't taken that time, I think I really, really, really would have paid for that, you know. So this is a much more like mundane, everyday life type of thing, but yeah, being able to just have everyone come together and eat some pizza and say thank you is going to be really helpful, I think. naturally, we go through hard times in life, but as long as you survive, the chances of getting through it and moving on to further, positive experiences in your life is very high. That's what we're here for, right? The dark and the light, the bitter and the sweet, so to speak. So, yeah, this is it. I'm doing it, The school's going on to someone else, and I'm moving on to the next step in my life. And it's a good chance, It's a really good chance. I feel very, very fortunate, and I'm very grateful for that. So I'm going to try to really drill down and do some good things with the time I have left. So, all right, that's it for this one.